Hello guys, it's the Raging Expout here, and we're here for the GBA tournament I'm taking part in. It's the Silph Co GBA tournament, and I'm gonna make a draft analysis so I can just talk about the draft to see what I think about the teams, and yeah, I'm just gonna get started right away. Here we see four sides, the New York Jets for Pidgeots, or Pidgeots, clever name. So we see they draft Landorus first pick, which is very interesting because that mon can be very versatile, and it's really amazing since obviously since it went to Ubers already in Smogon, but since it was drafted before that whole ban and the suspect test, we decided that he'd be allowed to keep it. So we see a giant threat right there, and then right after he picks up Mew, the most versatile Pokemon in the game, can learn any move by TM or by actually, I'm not really sure, but he gets like all the moves, so he can be very versatile, offensive threat, defensive threat, and yeah, it's really oh. Right now we can see a giant offensive core right here. Next we see Mega Beedrill. This is a Mega that I'm not so certain it was a right pick, especially for a third pick, because honestly it's one of the least good Megas in my opinion. And I think he could have waited until like the 9th or 10th round to pick it up. But yeah, he picks up Mega Beedrill, OUB. It hits hard, it hits super hard, but it can easily be prepared for with priority, or just there's a lot of things that just wall it. Next we see Superior, another OUB. This mon is a giant threat, especially with Contrary now. Leaf Storm +2s everywhere, it gets boosted and can deal massive damage to everything. It's insane. Now we see RU Alamola. That thing gets the Regenerator ability, and it's really bulky, so you will be able to take the ice type moves that Landorus and Superior are weak to. Also, Mega Beedrill can't really take them. So really an overall bulky Pokemon that will help him. And honestly, his team looks really good up to here, other than the Mega Beedrill I'm not so sure about. Next we have Entei from Mew. This mon is amazing. I just don't have anything to add to that. It's just really, really good. Choice Band, Assault Vest, can be run in so many different ways, gets extreme speed, which is amazing. Yeah, just an amazing mon right there. Next we see Aromatisse. I really like this pick because it's super bulky and it hits decently hard with Moonblast. The only thing is the slow speed, but it doesn't really need it since it's going to be a wall like 99.9% of the time. But anyways, it performs like really well with Alomomola and a lot of bulkier Pokemons. I'm pretty sure this is misspelled, but it doesn't really matter. Yanxiao next, Yu, Fake Out, High Jump Kick, Choice Scarf, Life Orb, Regenerator, Reckless. It gets two amazing abilities and can be a giant offensive threat, and I think it really works well with the bulky kind of offense, like with Entei, Mew, Landorus, but then a fast hitting frail Pokemon that hits like super hard. I think it's really gonna work out for him. Next we see Crawdont. This mon, Claudia, Shady Penguin, no, not Dragon Dance, Sword Stance, Aqua Jet, Crab Hammer knockoff, Adaptability knockoff destroys things. It's not even gonna be funny. Yeah, so this thing is a massive threat, and it's a BL, and yeah. We see Tornadus Eye next. I haven't really seen what this one can do. I know it sets up the rain in a lot of rain teams, but other than that, I'm not sure what it really does. I know it gets Prankster, and doesn't get Regenerator. That's his other form. So I mean, it's a pretty good pick for UU since it is one of the Genie trios. But yeah, I guess I'm not sure about that pick, but it's a nice pickup. And lastly, we see Livani in NU. This one, I mean, Sticky Web, but I guess he doesn't really need it with Mega Beedrill and Superior, but I guess Entei and Landorus can use it, and Crawdon, but I don't know, Sticky Web can be useful. I'm not sure if this was his team for it, but Sure, I'll take it. It's a pretty good mon for NU. It hits pretty hard. Yeah, so an overall look at his team, he still has 40 points left, so he can definitely upgrade from, let's say, an NU. Oh wait, actually no, because he only has one NU. So he definitely has room for improving his team by trading or by picking up a free agent pickup later on in the season. So we're gonna move on from his team. I think it's just a good team overall, and I think it's gonna perform really well. Next up, we see my team. I was really happy with the first couple mons I drafted, and then towards the end, I was thinking, I'm kind of stuck with like some weaknesses, but okay, we'll look at my mons. We see Infernape. I'm really a fan of Hank the Pidgey's team in GBA, so I wanted to pick up Infernape. It's super versatile, it's crazy, and yeah, it gets Stealth Rocks, Flamethrower, Overheat, Close Combat, Knock Punch, Gunk Shot, it's crazy the amounts of coverage it gets. Next up we see Thundurus. Thundurus, I drafted this mon because I needed a fast electric type, and fast electric types are amazing in this format. As well as it gets a wide variety of moves including Knockoff, Superpower, and can be mixed with Defiant. Defiant is very good, as well as Prankster T-Wave, which are his two abilities. Next up, I drafted Excadrill because I wanted a hard-hitting Earthquake and a Steel Stab mon, and Rapid Spin really helps with my next mon, and just overall, Rapid Spin is a great move because Stealth Rocks are such a prominent thing in this, well, in Pokemon battling in general. And yeah, it can be Scarfed, and Life Orb, Focus Sash can even carry Stealth Rocks. I just like this mon overall because it pairs really well with the next mon I draft and one far in the back. Next up, I drafted Mega Pinsir because I absolutely adore this Mega. It return does so much to everything. It pretty much 2-hit KOs anything that doesn't resist it. This thing is an absolute monster. It averages like it averages 2 times the amount of kills than of deaths in the GBA, and I think it's just a great mod in this format because all of this format is really about is just getting kills, getting sweeps, and just dealing as much damage as possible. So I like this Mega. It gets Sub, Sword Stance, Close Combat, Knockoff, Stone Edge, and a lot of good coverage moves. Next up, I drafted Slowbro as my OUB. I really wanted a Regenerator Core, just like I said, because I really like Hank the Pidgey's team in the GBA, and I really wanted this Regenerator Core, but I did not like Alamomola because I think it didn't provide enough offensive pressure, and Slowbro just has just a bit more special attacks, so it can hit it a bit more, and really just isn't as much of a setup fodder as other mons. And it gets the natural recovery with Slack Off, and I think it paired well with Amoonguss because it also resists the Psychic type move that hurt Amoonguss. Next up, I did draft Amoonguss, my UU pick, to complete the Regenerator Core. I love this mon, it's great, Spore, Foul Play, some cool moves like that, but it's just really bulky, and I think it really helps along with Slowbro to keep the defensive core. Next up, I drafted Miss Magus as my NU pick. I just think it was really a gem in the NU tier for the tier listings, and I really wanted to draft it because it's a ghost type, which I think is semi-important because you kind of want to stop those rapid spins, especially with all the rocks I can have on my team with Infernape, Excadrill, Rhyperior, Empoleon. I just have lots of things that I can set up rocks with, and not being able to rapid spin on me would be a really good asset to my team, so I did draft Miss Magus. It could also set up and sweep, which is kind of also a theme on my team because almost every mon on my team can set up. Whoa, actually. Honchkrow, Empoleon, Slurpuff, Miss Magus, Slowbro, Mega Pinsir, Excadrill. Whoa, okay, so like, oh, and also Rhyperior with Rock Polish, so 9 mons on my team can set up and sweep, so I think I just realized that, but that's pretty nice actually. So yeah, so after that I drafted Slurpuff with the Belly Drum, and I think this is just a pretty good mon. It's a fairy type, which is pretty nice to have. And yeah, I just thought it was pretty nice for an RU pick. Next up, I drafted Empoleon. I really regret picking up this mon because I was thinking of drafting Cobalion, and I think it would have fit better on this team. But after thinking about it, I thought it'd be nice to have more hazard removal for Mega Pinsir, but oh, that Cobalion would have been nice. So I did draft Empoleon that has another electric weakness, which I don't really, I think it's kind of a problem, but I think I'll be able to deal with it. So Empoleon is my UU pick. I think it's pretty nice. Next up, I drafted Honchkrow with, it's just a really powerful mon with Sucker Punch and Brave Bird. It can deal massive damage to a lot of things and just sweep with Moxie. It also gets Nasty Plot, so it can be special. And yeah, another theme on my team was kind of just versatility. So I do have that special option with Honchkrow, which is really nice. And lastly, I did draft Rhyperior. I really like this mon because it's really defensive, but also hits like a truck with that 145 base attack. So yeah, I drafted this mon because I really wanted bulky offense, but it does add another 4 times grass and 4 times water weakness, but it yeah, but those two get covered pretty well with Amoonguss and Slowbro and Mega Pinsir, so I thought it'd be really nice to have it there, and I think my team can pretty much cover all of its major weaknesses. So overall, you guys see my team. It's kind of set up, sweep, deal damage, and regenerator core. I think it's pretty nice, and although my last couple picks might have been not the best idea, but yeah, so this is my team, the Winnipeg Pirates. Okay, next up we see Pika's team. Pika, he wasn't the most, well no, his draft wasn't the most obvious one, and I don't really agree with a lot of it. So right now, we're gonna lead off with Talonflame. Talonflame, in the last GBA tournament I took part in, I did have Talonflame on my team. I think it's pretty good, but it kind of gets walled by some stuff, but I guess Natural Gift Grass can cover most of those counters, but Talonflame is good, but it's an OUA and it costs a lot and it can be walled. So yeah, he did draft it. That's pretty nice. First round, it pretty much would have gotten picked already, so I think it was pretty nice for him to get it first round, so great pick for your captain. Next up, he drafted Mega Sceptile. Mega Sceptile, I really like this mon. It's really fast and it can deal lots of damage, and I don't know, just the speed is really nice, and I think it's gonna work really well for him. Next up, he drafted Suicune, completing the Fire, Grass, Water core, which is really awesome. I was really happy when I saw that. I thought, wow, that's actually really cool. So he does have the Suicune right here, and both weak to Electric, Talonflame and Suicune, but then the Lightning Rod from Mega Sceptile could be useful. So Suicune is really interesting because it does get Tailwind, which he was talking about, because he is a VGC or doubles player, so he does know about the Tailwind and Trick Room options, and I think he was mentioning that he might use it, especially with the Cresselia Trick Room option, but I'm not sure if that's gonna work in singles, but whatever you want to do. Suicune is pretty good overall, even in singles, so I think it's gonna work great for him. Next up, he drafted Metagross. Metagross is a great UU pick. I think it's gonna be pretty good, although Metagross is kind of insane, but it was banned, so regular Metagross was kind of the best thing after that, but yeah, Metagross can be interesting, runs Stealth Rocks, and I'm pretty sure it has a decent special move pool along with his obvious physical move pool with Meteor Mash, Earthquake, and those punches. So yeah, I think up to here I really kind of enjoyed his team. It's pretty a cool draft. Next up, he drafted Togekiss OUB. This mon, I despise it, but it's good. So I can't really say much. Air Slash with Serene Grace is really, 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 really annoying with Thunder Wave, and I mean, he can use it. I wouldn't have drafted it just because I hate it. But yeah, that's what I think about it. Next up, he drafts GlitchxCore. GlitchxCore in this format, I don't think is the best because of the 4 times ice weakness, because you can just slap a hidden power ice on anything and pretty much take care of it. But GlitchxCore is pretty bulky, so it can live some things and stealth rocks and can learn defog with Hypercutter, so I think, and Toxic Orb, oh, don't start me on that. Oh, Subtoxic is the bane of my existence. So, with those 2 mons, I'm kind of starting to kind of get hurt, get hurt from the start of his draft, or from the mid of his draft. Next up is Shuckle, another bulky mon, which I don't really like playing up against, but I think it's pretty good. Sticky Web, Stealth Rocks, and it can be really annoying with Infestation, Toxic. So I think it's pretty good, but yeah, still no spinner, or yeah, there's still no spinner for Talonflame. So he's gonna either have to defog his own rocks away, or yeah, he's just gonna let his Talonflame pretty much be useless. Next up, he drafted Pikachu. I don't like this pick at all. I think it's not good, and that's all I have to say. Next up, he drafted Sceptile, the RU pick. This pick kind of confused me because he already has the Mega Sceptile, but then he has the Sceptile, so I guess he could play some mind games by bringing them both and like making us try to figure out which one is the Mega, but he has to Mega Evolve on the first turn anyway, so I don't know how well that's going to work for him. And he said he really likes the Unburden boost, but I don't know how much that's going to work in this format, but I think it's a pretty good mon for RU. Next up, he drafted Cresselia. I hate this thing. I think it should die right now. I'm gonna move it because I hate it. I'm just kidding. Okay, so Cresselia right here. I hate Cresselia, but I think it's a good mon, so I can't really hate on it. It was a good pick for a 9th round especially. So, and lastly, he drafted Pineco NU. He's gonna be annoying. I don't like it, but I can't do anything about it other than taunt, which I'll probably bring against him. Spoiler alert. Okay. So this was his team. I think the beginning of his draft was amazing for up to here, or whatever, because I don't like Togekiss, but anyways, his draft was pretty good with the Fire, Grass, Water core at the beginning, but the end of his draft kind of left me thinking, because I don't think it's gonna work out as he expects. Next up, Pixelanius. I really like his team. Raikou first pick, amazing mon, fast electric types, as I said, amazing in this format. Pikachu doesn't count, by the way, this thing sucks. Raikou, Oyubi, best Oyubi in my opinion, because there is not that many in this format, which I really like. So he drafted Raikou, Skarmory after that. Skarmory is just good overall. I think it can be killed in this format better than in regular play, because you might not have something to take it down on a regular team, but you'll be ready for it in the GBA. But Skarmory definitely works, and I like his pick. Next up, he drafted actually no, he did draft another. He did draft excuse me, I'm just looking around for which one he traded. Yeah, he did draft Salamence before, but I'm gonna talk about his mon he has now, because this season hasn't started yet. So he just made a trade. So here's Staraptor. He drafted it, he traded for it. I think Staraptor is really good. If you really wanted to, you could run Final Gambit. Reckless just hurts like really bad. It's like a truck. Yeah, that's all I have to say. Roserade UU, I think this thing is amazing. It's super fast, grass poison type, great. It can be run Scarf, bulky with toxic spikes, Life Orb with Arrest and Natural Cure, I think it's just really a cool mon, and I think it's gonna work out for him. Next up, he drafted Dusclops. I don't know. I got the Cooper Kushiro's tier listings for the actual GBA to separate the tiers in this draft, so I don't understand how Dusclops is an NU, or he's not even listed there, so I imagine he'd be NU. So Pixel did take that and he drafted it as an NU, and I think this mon is too good for NU. With Eviolite, he will eat hits all day, and I think he's really good. So good job, Pixelanius, on picking that up. Ambipom in RU, we see in the actual GBA on YouTube, Shady Penguin is using this mon very well, and I think it will work as well in this one because it's really good with fake out and return and U-turn, gunk shot, and all the coverage it gets, and it's just fast. As we can see, he has fast, which I really like. I like the offensive teams in this draft, which his team is one of them. Oh, don't look at this. This is kind of messed up. I forgot to take that down. Next he drafted Porygon 2 as his UU pick, and I think Porygon 2 is really well. Actually, I tried to draft trade Empoleon for it, but he did deny it. But Porygon 2 is very good. It's really bulky, so the only thing it should watch out for is knockoff, but otherwise it doesn't die with recover. And download and trace can be two really good abilities. Next up we have Azelf. Azelf can be very versatile, which I really like, and I think it's going to work really well for him. It can be physical or special or mixed. It can run Nasty Plot, and it can really do anything. It can set up rocks and explode even. So I think he's going to be able to pull off some really interesting things with it. Next up he drafted Gallade. Gallade is a massive threat for an RU pick. It swept Hank in the GBA, which was pretty interesting. The sub bulk upset is really interesting. I think he could use this as well in this tournament. And yeah, I think it was a good pick for RU. Next up, he drafted Kingler for NU. I'm not really sure what this mon does, but I know it gets Crab Hammer and knockoff, so I think it's gonna hit decently hard. I'm not sure if he's gonna bring it every week, but you're not gonna bring all your mons every week, so I think Kingler's a pretty solid pick, especially for NU. And lastly, he kept his Mega for last. He drafted Mega Altaria. I have no idea how this thing made it to the last round, but it did. So Mega Altaria, the most versatile Mega in my opinion, is a 10th round pick, and I applaud you, Pixelanius. Good job on picking that up. This mon is very good. Pixelanius, I'm sorry, Pixelate to return Hyper Voice. It can be physically offensive, physically defensive, specially defensive. It can be bulky attacker. Well, it is a bulky attacker with DD, sub, heal bell. I think it's just a really versatile mon overall, and I think it's really good. And it's a fairy type, which is very good. Next up we have Flygon's team. He already has his first battle, so we can see that Ninetales kind of just swept the floor. So yeah, that was his pick, but I'm gonna talk about that a bit later. So first he drafted Latias. I wanted Latias, but he did draft it before me. I think it was a good pick, especially for OUA. Well, no, especially for OUA, but I think it's a really good mon, solid mon with defog, and yeah, it's gonna pair up really well with his next pick, excuse me. So yeah, dropping Dracos, Psyshock, Healing Wish can be really interesting. I think he could definitely use that. Also, Sucker Punch Latias. Yes, you heard me. You gotta do this Flygon. Come on. Okay. Next up, he drafted Bisharp OUA. This mon is great, but I don't know how it didn't get drafted in the YouTube GBA. This thing is amazing, and we saw that it was used by Numnexus before, although without much success, but it is a great mon, and I think he's gonna make great use of it. Next up, he drafted Milotic. Milotic, one of the best bulky water types in the format, and it can be really offensive, really defensive. Mirror Code is an option. I think it's really good, and he will make it work for sure. Next up, Mega Venusaur. Mega Venusaur is a crazy mon. I don't know how it didn't get drafted early as well. I think this draft was a bit weird in the fact that some mons did not get picked until later in the draft, but I guess he got it, and that's pretty awesome. So he did draft Mega Venusaur OUA. That thing is very, 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 very good. Probably my second, I'd say the second Mega behind it, Mega Altaria, for the best Mega in this format. Next up, he drafted Mamoswine. Mamoswine OUP. I think it's gonna. I had it on my the last GBA tournament I took part in. I had it on my team, and it was MVP. It was amazing. I think it's gonna work for him. He can run his Scarf, Sash works a lot, a Life Orb, even Choice Band if he wants. Choice Band Ice Shard just hurts like a truck. Yeah, Priority Ice Shard is really good. Next up, he drafted Heliolisk, fast electric type, as I said, and it's gonna work really well with his next pick. But Heliolisk is very good and underrated in my opinion. It does get moves like Surf and Dark Pulse and some moves you wouldn't expect it to get, and gets 3 great abilities in Dry Skin, Solar Power, and Sand Veil, which I didn't know the third one he had, but that's pretty interesting. Next up, he drafted Ninetales. Ninetales, with the Drought ability, can set up the sun, force Solar Power Heliolisk, which will destroy lives. And Ninetales is very good, obviously 6 kills, 0 deaths in his first match. And yeah, this thing is not going away from the MVP list for a while. But yeah, this mon is very, very, very good. Especially for NU. I was thinking it was supposed to be only Flash Fire, but apparently I wasn't specific enough, so he did draft Drought Ninetales as an NU pick, which is very good. Next up, he drafted Hitmontop, Rapid Spinner, Sucker Punch, Technician, Fake Out, Bullet Punch. This mon is very good. It can be bulky, it can be offensive, close combat, stab fighting is really good in this format. So he did draft it. I think it's really good. Next up, he traded for Scolipede actually. So Scolipede is very good. It could get some offensive pressure, but mostly speed boost, Swords Dance, Baton Pass onto like Mamoswine or Bisharp or even Hitmontop or Aerodactyl. So I think it's gonna be very good for his team. After that, he drafted Aerodactyl as another UU pick, as another UU pick. I think this mon is great. It can set up the rocks. It gets moves like Iron Head, Fire Fang, although it's mostly seen on Mega Aerodactyl, but regular Aerodactyl is very good as well. Lastly, he did draft Gardevoir, the Forgotten Fairy type that did not get drafted until the 10th round, so he really got some gems in his team, and I think it's a really, really solid team, especially with the Gardevoir being so, I guess it can be versatile, but I think Gardevoir is just a solid mon overall with the Moonblast and the Psychic Stab, and yeah. So his team, we can see it's very, very, very powerful, but also defensive, and I think it's definitely one of the best teams in the draft, if not the best. Next up, we have Mistdraker. So Mistdraker, he's a great battler, and we can see from his team that he knows what he likes to use, and he knows what he's going to use well. So for first up, he drafted Mega T-Tar. I've been told by my friends at the guild that T-Tar is very versatile, but I'm not so convinced myself. But I guess yes, it can. But it can be Lure with Fire Blast and Ice Beam, but it can also be DD and just sweep things. So I think Mega Tyranitar is very good in this format actually. But yeah, I think he's gonna make it work very well. Next up, he drafted Heatran. Heatran is just a solid mon overall. It gets Stealth Rocks, Taunt, Toxic obviously, but it can be bulky, it can be Scarf, it can be offensive or defensive. It's really it's a good mon, and it's yeah. Espeon in UU. Espeon is an offensive threat. It has magic bounce. It's a good mon. It's an evolution. He's got it, and yeah. And next up, he drafted Umbreon. This I hated. Bye. Ditto, Enu. This thing is interesting as a pick. It gets oh, I forgot the ability, but it can transform into anything. It can transform into something that is set up and just sweep your opponent's teams. And I think he's gonna make it work. Not really a pick that I think he'll bring every match, but I think he can definitely make use of it to like scout for the opponent or just revenge kill things. After that, he drafted Hawlucha, which is, in my opinion, one of the best BLs for sure, because Unburden with Citrus and a sub is really good with Swords Dance, and Acrobatics and High Jump Kick hurts like a truck. It can set up on a lot of things. It's immune to spikes, and yeah, it's a flying type and a fighting type, so interesting typing right there. Next up, he did draft Gyarados. Gyarados can be very useful in this format as a non-mega because it can DD up and pretty much have the same amount of power as the mega form. So he does have DD, he can run sub DD, DD bounce. Bounce is very interesting as a move. It can get Fire Blast as seen as seen in the YouTube GBA. So we see Fire Blast, so he can kill off the Ferrothorns that think they can wall him, and I think it's just a really good mon. Next up, he did draft Double Spin and first in Donphan, and Donphan is a solid mon. I think it's bulky enough, but also with that high base attack, will be able to deal some damage. Bulky attacker, I like it. Next up is Tentacruel. Tentacruel is also a good rapid spinner, a bit faster than, a lot faster than Donphan with a base 100 speed. It can be offensive if you really want to. Assault Vest is very common, well, not common, but common in the GBA format. Next up, he drafted Spiritomb. I'm not sure if he's gonna use this mon that much, but I mean, it's cool. It gets Calm Mind, Rest, Sleep Talk. He can run Foul Play, Sucker Punch. I'm not sure if he's gonna sweep with it, but I think it's a good mon. Next up, he did draft Gothitelle as last pick, and I think this mon is really... Excuse me, I'm gonna pause. Okay, as I said, he did draft Gothitelle up next. I think this mon is a great trapper. It can run Choice Specs and Rest, Trick with Calm Mind. I think it's just trappers are really good in this format, and I think he's gonna make it work really well. Although Shed Shell can be used to predict that. I think his team is good overall with some bulky offense with the Gyarados, Donphan, Gothitelle, Heatran, Tyranitar, and he's got some things to sweep. He's got some bulk to rely on, and he's got the thing I hate. So, yeah. Next up, Battlestorm. Battlestorm is the the creator of the guild, and um, he's a very good battler. He likes his hyper offense, and we can see from the monster drafted, other than Ferrothorn, that we can see that he sticks to the style of play even in the GBA. So first of all, he drafted Mega Lopunny. Mega Lopunny is very good. It gets Fake Out, a scrappy high jump kick in return to hit those ghost types, and it gets some the elemental punches and stuff like that. So I think it's got good enough coverage and good enough speed to really work well. Next up, he drafted Latios, which is a really good pick. Um, I don't really have to say much else because it is an offensive powerhouse in the OU tier, and obviously it's going to work well in the GBA as well. So Lucario as his UU pick. Lucario is a great mon, sets up and sweeps, extreme speed, close combat, bullet punch, crunch, ice punch. Um, it gets enough coverage to really sweep teams, and I think he's going to be able to do just that. Next up, he drafted Tornadus T. Tornadus T is a Greymon. There's nothing else to say. It's like one of the most used Pokemon in the OU tier right now, and with Assault Vest and Life Orb and those sets like that, it hits like a truck, but also can take hits like nothing. So I think it's really good, and I think it was a great pick. Next up, Gengar. Gengar is the ghost type. He is the OG ghost type. He is great. He can hit hard, and he can run some interesting sets as well, like Sub, Pain Split, Will-O-Wisp, and Disable and stuff like that. So I think he'll make it work, and he's going to bring some interesting sets as well as just his normal hyper offense with Shadow Ball, Sludge Bomb, and other coverage moves. Next up, Klefki with the Prankster Spikes, Magnus Rise. He's going to be able to set up hazards and reflects and light screens and foul plays. This Mon is just defensive, and he likes to use it as well, paired with his hyper offense to just be able to wear down a team and then just smack them with offense. So I think it's going to work out for him. Next up, he drafts Whimsicott, another fairy type, which is useful as well. This Mon gets Prankster as well, so he's going to be able to paralyze things and set up Leech Seeds and subs and be annoying, but I guess it's a good Mon, so I can't really take anything away from it. So he did draft it as his RU pick. Next up, he drafts Crustle as one of his NU picks. Excuse me. So he can run Shell Smash, defensive. I think it's an interesting pickup, and I think he will be able to use it, but I'm not sure if he'll bring it every round because it is so, like, I don't know, it can be, there's so many mons that do his jobs better than he does. So yeah. Next up, he drafted Ferrothorn as his OUB. Ferrothorn is good, and it's really bulky, but as well, it's the same problem as Gliscor. If you can just slap an HP fire on something to take it down, I think I'm not sure if he'll bring it every week, but it can definitely be useful to wall some teams. Next up, Houndoom. I really like this pick. This pick can be super powerful and threatening, even though it's NU, with the Sucker Punch, with the fire moves, and with a Life Orb, this thing hurts like a truck. And yeah, I think he's gonna use it. It's pretty decently fast with base 95 speed, and it's just really quick, and it hits hard. So it's kind of part of his hyper offensive playstyle, but yeah, so also fits his playstyle, so he's going to be able to play it well. And lastly, he did draft Archeops, which is his NU pick, or another NU pick. This thing can run many different sets, although the defeatist ability is why it's so bottom tier, but it can definitely work, and I think he'll be able to use it well. So overall, his team, you see hyper offense with the bit of support plus a bit more hyper offense, so we're gonna see him hit things and hit them hard. Next up, we see Dangel's team with the Cincinnati Flying Tepigs. Dangel drafted Tyranitar first pick, same deal as Mega T-Tar, but regular T-Tar, so I guess it doesn't hit as hard, not as bulky, but definitely a good mon and a great captain pick. Next up, he drafts Breloom, one of the best OUBs. It gets Spore, Swords Dance, it can run Toxic Heal, it does have Technician most of the time with Mach Punch, and it's a very good mon. Next up, he drafted Sylveon, which is a very, very, very good mon, and I think it can definitely put in some work with the Hyper Voices and with the Toxic and Wish Protect stuff and Heal Bell. I think it's just a good fairy type overall. Next up, Gastrodon as RU pick. This thing gets bopped by grass, so I don't think it's gonna be so useful, but I guess grass, he has Volcarona, but HP grass kind of hurts, but I don't know, I'm not a giant fan of Gastrodon in the GBA, but I think it can definitely wall some things and help with taking hits. Next up is Sableye. Sableye is very good in this format. It can hurt super hard with Foul Play, Knockoff, and Sucker Punch, but also can be really annoying with Will-O-Wisp and Toxic. And as we see, I was watching Hank's last GBA or the last GBA-ish tournament he participated in. He had Sableye on his team, and he had a really interesting set with the Trick Choice Band set onto a Cresselia, which really worked. So I think he'll be able to pull off some stuff like this really well. Next up, Volcarona as a BL pick. This thing can sweep really well. Quiver Dance is an amazing move with Roost. It gets really bulky after a few Quiver Dances and can even take like, I guess Ancient Powers. I can't think of another rock special move, but yeah, so the only thing that really hurts it is rocks. And right now up to here he doesn't have any rapid spinning or defogging, so that could be a problem eventually, but overall Volcarona does really well in this format. Next up, Alakazam, the Revenge Killer. He is very good with Focus Sash. If you don't let it take a hit, it will stay alive and be able to secure you a game. And it can run the hidden powers really well, but also just hits really hard, and with the Focus Sash it can be a really huge win condition. He did draft Fortress after, so that does help with rapid spinning away the rocks for his Volcarona. And yeah, so he will use this mon just as a rapid spinner, but we can see it also does some good work with Gyro Ball, as we can see how Mulbone used it in the GBA on the YouTubes. So Fortress is definitely a good mon in this format, although again, hidden power, hidden power, hidden power. All the hidden powers are very threatening in this format because you know what mons your opponents have, but I think if he stays away from the HP fires, he can definitely use this to his advantage and really put in some work. Next up, I really love this pick, Tauros NU. He can definitely run it well with the Sheer Force. I am not sure if it's going to be brought every week, but it's definitely a good mon, and he will be able to put in some work with it, I'm sure. Ninjask as NU pick. Ninjask is a good speed boost baton passer. I'm not sure what he would pass it to though, like Tyranitar maybe, Swords Dance, baton pass, yeah. I guess that could work, but yeah, he does pretty much the same thing as Scolipede, but I think Scolipede is much better because of the more bulk. But Ninjask can definitely do the same thing and be useful as well. You can even run Choice Band, but that's not really the most obvious set. And lastly, he did wait for his Mega at last, so he did draft Mega Sableye as his OUA Mega. So Mega Sableye is really going to help with the Rock's weakness he does have with the Ninjask and the Volcarona. But yeah, so Magic Bounce is really good. Mega Sableye is just a great Mega overall. and paired with all the bulk he has, it's not going to die very easily. And I think Mega Sableye is just very good. Also, we see that you kind of see the peak choice making here, but I'm not so sure about that. But Sableye bringing it's just that having both the Mega and the regular form kind of makes it just adds more weaknesses to your team, and you don't really need that. So I'm not a huge fan of that, but I guess he has it, and I think he's a good enough battler to make it work. So we see that his team is just bulky offense plus fast attacking spinners, fast attackers, frail things. So I think it's just balanced overall, plus the massive threat Volcarona. So yeah. Next up, we have Pikami with his first loss against Sunflygon. We can see he didn't pick up any kills, but we can see his team right here. So Torkoal as his NU pick, I think it was dumb to draft Torkoal first round. You could have waited till 9 or 8, or I'm sorry, 11 or 10 or 9. But yeah, Torkoal is not the greatest pick in my idea, especially not for first. I don't like that at all. Next, well, it can definitely be useful with like Rapid Spin and Lava Plume and stuff, but not a first round pick, not a captain. But I guess Philadelphia Torkoals, you wanted to keep that, but not first pick. Electros and RU. This is probably the best RU pick. I'm really happy you picked it. Maybe not a second round pick, but definitely like a 5th or 6th. But probably the best RU pick for sure in the tier listings. And with the levitate, so he has no weaknesses. This thing can eat up hits, and it can deal a lot of damage with his coverage moves. Next up, Mega Slowbro. I'm not a giant fan of it, but I can definitely see it working with the Crowbro set, and also I've seen it work as just an offensive mon. So Mega Slowbro can take the hits, he can deal hits, and with the battle armor ability, he doesn't get critted, so that's especially very good with the Crowbro set. So next up, he drafts Gligar. Gligar is a good UU pick. As I said, HP Ice is kind of scary, but I think he, with all the water resist he has, I think he can definitely use it, and the ice resist as well. Next up, Magnezone. Magnezone as his OUB. Magnezone is very threatening, although it's pretty slow, so usually Choice Scarf is used, but also Assault Vest can be used for teams that don't really have many answers to it. So yeah, Magnezone is very powerful. He did draft Feraligatr as his BL pick, so you can see the Dragon Dance and Swords Dance option, plus the Sheer Force Waterfall, which is his new ability, hidden ability. So yeah, this mon can definitely sweep things and can be a threat. Next up is Lunatone. Moon! But yeah, Lunatone. Silph Co GBA members, you understand this. Thunderous T OUA. This thing is good, although I don't think it's as good as Thunderous Incarnate, but Thunderous T can be used. It's got Volt Absorb instead of the Prankster / Defiant, but yeah, Thunderous T, he can definitely make use of it. It's a bit more offensive than Thunderous Eye, but does lack a bit of speed, so I think he can use it as a Choice Back / Choice Scarf user, or Life Orb even. And yeah. Next up, Rotom Wash. We see kind of a rain-esque team going on, but he doesn't really have Politoed or anything, so I don't know how he's going to make that work. He's going to have, I guess, Rain Dancers, but yeah, I think he could definitely put some cool things into that, but yeah, so we see, yeah, 3 water types at the end. So Rotom Wash as his OUA. Rotom Wash is just good. You guys all know him. Smogon, everybody uses it, but yeah, Rotom Wash is good. Maybe not as much as in this format because you can kind of prepare for it, but overall I think it'll be good. Kingdra OUB, I think it can definitely work with Dragon Dance and Lumberry and Outrage. Um, it's definitely a huge threat, but I don't think it will be as, I don't know, no, it's gonna be powerful, but just not as powerful as other OUB threats. Next up, Lantern, and you pick. I'm just gonna do something real quick. It's really bad, but honestly, it's a pretty good pick. But this is just for my buddy Flygon. Okay. Next up, we see TJ's team with the Tokyo Terrakions, which is not based off any team, so don't try to look it up. He just wanted it. So we see Mega Scizor as his first pick. So his OUA pick, Mega Scizor, is very good. It's very powerful, although the HP fire is kind of scary, but I think he can avoid that because he is a very good player, TJ. I'm just kind of throwing that out there. Good battler. So Mega Scizor, Swords Dance, he gets Agility Baton Pass. That could be useful for like Swords Dance, Agility Baton Pass, Bullet Punch for like Crobat or Salamence. What's this doing there? Are you serious? Hey, there we go. And then we see Manaphy. Manaphy OUA Tail Glow is very scary. He can definitely make use of it. I think he'll bring it a lot. And paired with the Seismitoad, it can definitely set up the rain and then just deal massive damage. Next up, he does draft Hippowdon, which is a very good mon because it's so bulky on both sides of the spectrum, so it can take hits and set up the sand if it wants, although sand is not super useful with this team, but because he doesn't have any abilities to make use of. But anyways, this mon is very good. Next up is Salamence. Salamence is a BL pick. He did trade with Pixelanius for the giving away his Staraptor, I imagine because he already had a normal type, but I think it was a good trade because he did get Salamence. Salamence is a huge threat. It can be physical, special, mixed, and we've seen Hank use it, not in the GBA, but in his older league, we've seen him use bulky Rocky Helmet to take on a Darmanitan, which was really interesting. So yeah, it can even run that. Seismitoad in NU, which is really interesting. I love this mon because I used to have the Unova gym in a guild I used to take part in, so I just had all mons from Unova, and I had really good memories with Seismitoad. He's my boy, so I hope he's going to use it well. So Terrakion in OUB, Terrakion is a threat. It didn't get picked earlier. I have no idea why. It's really good. Good job, TJ. You picked it up. Close combat, it deals so much damage, including as well as Stone Edge, hitting things super hard. I think it's really good, and he's going to make use of it really well. So Tangrowth in UU, Regenerator. I like it. Tangrowth is good, and it can be bulky. It can get Knockoff and Earthquake, as well as Giga Drain and Sludge Bomb, so it can be sort of mixed with Assault Vest or even with Leftovers and Synthesis and Toxic and stuff. So I think it's going to be a good wall for him, as well paired with Reuniclus, with the Regenerator core, but also can be used as Magic Guard with Trick Room or even just Assault Vest with Powerhouse, because Reuniclus does have a massive special attack stat. These two mons are kind of slow, but I think they're going to work well paired together. Next up is Crobat as his UU pick. Crobat is very, very good. It can defog away hazards, although it's kind of weak to it. Although it is weak to it, so it's going to take some damage off it, but it can always roost off the damage. So Crobat can be used defensively, offensively. Choice Band, Brave Bird is kind of a thing, and I really want to see that. Yeah, so Crobat, really good. Snorlax as UU. Snorlax is a good mon, but I'm not sure how many different ways he can use it in other than the Curse Lax, but I guess he can use his special wall, but I don't think he'll bring this mon every week or every couple weeks, maybe. Gorgeist as his other NU pick. Gorgeist is good. I think it's really good for an NU pick. So I think I really like it actually. So overall, we see his team. It's kind of bulky offense with Mega Scizor, Tail Glow Manaphy, and setup sweepers. And I think his bulky offense plus setup sweepers is going to work really well for him, as well as him being a good battler. Next up is Andrew Snow with the Boston Beartics. He drafted Garchomp as his captain. Garchomp is a good mon. HP Ice is scary, but I think he can definitely avoid it. But Garchomp is a good mon with the Choice Scarf or with the very popular bulky Chomp in OU right now with the Rocky Helmet. But yeah, so Garchomp is useful for sure, and I think it's a good OUB mon. So next up, he drafted Mega Swampert. I think he could have waited later to draft it, but Mega Swampert is good, so I don't mind him drafting it on at the second pick. So we see Mega Swampert. We see that he's gonna have the rain option with them, and I think Mega Swampert could definitely work really well with the Earthquake and the rain boosted waterfall. Next up, Florges as his first UU pick. Florges is very bulky and can also be offensive with Calm Mind or just Assault Vest, and I think it can make use of the hidden power, so it can be versatile enough to take on enough things, and I think it can definitely work in this format. Next up, we see Politoed as his OUA, as another OUA. So it can set up the rain for Swampert. There's not much else to say, but it's going to be there for Swampert. It can also be offensive with a Choice Scarf to set up the rain and then just lead the way for Mega Swampert, as well as burning things. It gets Hypnosis, which some people use, but I don't know. I would never run it because I'm not that kind of person to rely on such inaccurate moves. But anyways, so Politoed, I think it's a good pick. Galvantula. Galvantula is a fast electric type with Sticky Web. I'm not sure if he's gonna need Sticky Web, honestly, but oh yes, I love you. Galvantula. Yeah, it's good. It gets good coverage. A Sandslash as his NU. I think the Rapid Spin is very interesting, and I think is a decent pickup for NU, and I think he's gonna use it well. Wheezing is another NU, which a lot of people run in different tiers because it is so good, and it can be bulky enough to take on OU threats, including Terrakion and other stuff like that, fighting types especially. And with the Will-O-Wisp and the Pain Split and the Leftovers and the Flamethrower, it's got enough versatility to really put the pressure on. He drafted Diggersby, which is his BL, and Diggersby is very good just because of the huge power ability, because it deals a lot of damage, and with the Earthquake and the return, it has decent enough like typing to really hit different things and not lack in power. Next up is Doublade as his RU pick, as one of his RU picks. So Doublade is very interesting. I think it's good for an RU pick. We see that Miguel drafted it, and in the YouTube GBA, Mega Mogwai, if you guys haven't heard of him. So Doublade is very good. I think the Sword Stance set is very good. It can also be run defensively, as we've seen Miguel use it in the GBA. So yeah, I like this pick. Exploud. Yes. 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 So we see Exploud, it's just yes. Choice Specs Boom Burst, that's all you have to click, and it's a powerhouse, and I love it. Good job, Andrew. Next is Flygon as another UU pick. Flygon can definitely be used, but I'm not so sure about this pick because I've tried it out myself and I don't see it as that good of a mon, but I guess it can be used with Choice Scarf and can be either physically or specially offensive, so I think he can definitely put some variety into it. and use it, because I think he'll use it every so often because it is a decent mon, and for a last round pick, it was a pretty decent pickup. So overall, we see his team, which I think he tried to go for rain, but it doesn't really flow together. So I think it's a kind of a different team, but I think it could work definitely. So Politoed plus Mega Swampert, it's kind of those two form a core, and then so Politoed Swampert. So yeah, good job, Andrew. So I actually do like his team. So yeah. Next, last team is Nobody Shiro's Minnesota Mawile, and he does pack a punch. But also with some bulk. So Mega Deoncé is the mixed powerhouse, with the Diamond Sword and with the Moonblast, with the HP Fire for the pesky Ferrothorns. So I think with all the moves it gets, it can be versatile enough to work, but I think it will get walled by some things. But overall, it's a good Mega. It hurts on both sides of the spectrum, and it's very fast and offensive, so I think it could definitely work well. Next up, he drafted Azumarill. Azumarill is the best fairy type in OU for sure, I'd say. Azumarill is very, very good as a fairy type. It gets a big belly drum. It can be run assault vested. It gets superpower, knockoff, and ice punch, and all sorts of cool moves, and aqua jet especially because that priority is very useful. So I think Azumarill was a great pick. So yeah. Next up, Weavile. Weavile is a BL. Weavile is a monster. Like, quite literally, it destroys things. As we can see how Malvone used it in the GBA, on the YouTube GBA so far, with only one death and a lot of kills. So yeah, this mon is a threat with a fast knockoff plus ice stab. It really works well. Next up is Hydreigon as another BL pick. I love this mon. I think it works really well in the GBA, and I think it's just a great mon overall. It works in the GBA and outside the GBA because it's so versatile. It can be physical, special, mixed, and with Roost to recover his life orb damage. I love this mon. It's really good. Next up is Chansey. It's the wall. It's gross, but it's good. So it works. I think it's a good thing for him, although we see that he does have that fighting weakness, but then the two fairies, so I think he'll be able to counteract that a bit. But Chansey is annoying, but it's a good wall, so kudos, I guess. Nidoqueen in UU. Nidoqueen is good. We see we've seen A-Drive use it very well as an offensive bulky mon, but yeah, bulky offense, that's what it is. And it is a good mon, and the poison and ground stab is very good. Next up is Arcanine. Arcanine can be run physically offensive, specially offensive, specially defensive, specially sorry, physically defensive. So this mon is very versatile. It can be run in Choice Band, bulky Will-O-Wisp with leftovers, Assault Vest. This thing is very versatile, but also, yeah, I think it works really well in this format, and it can definitely stop a lot of threats with Will-O-Wisp. Next up, he drafts Scizor. Scizor made it to the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th round. That is crazy. Scizor is a great mon, with the U-turn, and well, not being Mega is not even that bad because Life Orb Bullet Punch still hurts like a truck, and I think with Choice Band or with Life Orb or with SD yeah, I think it will be very powerful and can definitely be a threat in this format. Next up, Drifblim, NU. I'm not so sure about what this thing does. I think it gets Unburden with Acrobatics and Destiny Bond, but Other than that, I'm not so sure what it does. I think it's a decent mon for an NU pick, and I think it's pretty interesting, and I think he'll be able to come up with some cool sets. Next up is Cobalion. So RU pick. I wanted this mon. I hesitated. I did not get it. Congrats on getting it. It's a good mon overall. It can be physical, special with Calm Mind. It gets rocks. It can be very bulky. It gets a Volt Switch. So, I don't know. Good job. Oh, by the way, Magnet Rise. Magnet Rise is a great move on this thing because of mons that could definitely like take it on that can't take it on suddenly because of Magnet Rise. Next up, Wigglytuff, or the last pick in the draft actually. So Wigglytuff as the NU pick. Wigglytuff with competitive is a threat. For an NU pick, it's actually very offensive and can be used very offensively. I think he will be able to bring it. I don't think he'll bring it every match at all, but it's a threat, and especially with his 3 fairy types, I think that'll be the one left out most of the time, but whatever. Wigglytuff is interesting. I think he can definitely use it. So thank you guys for watching. I'm sorry if this was so long, but this was the draft. We see the Nobody Shiro, Andrew Snow, TJ, Pikami, Dangel, Battlestorm, Mistraker, Sunflagon, Pixelanius, Pika, myself, and Foresight. So we'll all be participating in a GBA tournament. And so this was the draft analysis for it. Thank you guys for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed. I'll try to get my battles up on the channel, so definitely be excited for that. If I don't, I'm sorry. But yeah, so congrats to all. Good luck to all the players. And if you want to check out the guild, go at gamefacts.com and look us up under the Pokemon Omega Ruby battling boards. So we'll be there under Silph Co GBA, or no, Silph Co Guild. So thank you guys. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you want to, and yeah, bye.